What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday. Going to have a good show today talking about the final Titans OTA practice of the offseason. The next time we will see the Tennessee Titans on the practice field will be day one of training camp, late July, Jack. So Brian Callahan did kind of throw out there little nuggets about when training camp is going to start. So I'll tease you with that, and then everybody can circle their calendars on that. So we'll talk about a little training camp storyline with the Seattle Seahawks now going to come practice jointly against the Tennessee Titans. That's in mid-training camp there. So we're going to have a great show talking about that before we get to sports trivia like we do every Wednesday. See if we can go another third rapid round. We have our time to beat of 442 with being 100% accurate. So we'll see if we can do that like we were unable to do last week. And then we're going to lead off with what I'm calling a disgusting narrative about a particular Titans player from last week's minicamp that carried over into yesterday's OTA. So I'm going to go after a member of, I don't even know if they're a Nashville media member or not, but I'm going to go after from something that happened over the last week or so about the Tennessee Titans. So Jack, we'll also talk about Will Levis punting a football into the lake at the Titans facility yesterday as I get into what practice was like. So, Jack, welcome in. Let's get this thing off and rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be a fun show today. I'm excited to talk about a couple of these topics with the chat and see what they think. Jeff Smash is doing it right. He says he's here for the morning show. Then he's going straight to the Tighten Up podcast to progress through his work day. Good episode. Came out last night at midnight. I encourage everyone to go watch or go listen to the Tighten Up podcast. Rate us 4.5 stars for the Tighten Up idiots and a 0.5 star for Buck. And with all that being said, let's get into sharing the show. We've got over 100 of y'all in here right now. Only 14 likes on my screen. So let's bump those up. Throw the thumbs up for us. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, get that done over there as well. We're going to share the show on Facebook. Sharing is caring. Let's share it to our Titans Facebook groups. I know all of y'all are in them. I'm in like 15 of them myself, so I see you guys in them. Let's share those. Let's share the show to those groups. Let's bring in more people, a bigger audience, more thumbs up, more shares. All of that stuff's good for A to Z Sports. If you're watching on YouTube, tap that bell icon at the top of your screen and turn those notifications on. You don't want to miss anything through the next month and a half. There's still going to be a couple Titans moves, I'm sure. So make sure you're updated. Make sure you're on top of it when those cross the wire with A to Z Sports YouTube notifications turned on. A lot of content coming your way, too, in this little dry period we have coming up. Next, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. If you're at work or you're getting ready for work, you want to help a buddy kill an hour, you know, a Titans fan out there who's got nothing better to do, bring them on in here. Let's talk Titans with them. Let's take the temperature of the Titans fan base. It's going to be a fun conversation, like I said early on. So, Austin, I'm ready to get into it. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road.
Yep, let's officially welcome in the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter/X timeline. You can follow us there at A to Z Sports. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and you can do that by using our link and getting a quote today. That is at fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Jack, it was the last day of Titans off-season work yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park, and it was a little bit of a different day. You know, they've had damn near perfect attendance. Actually, they have had perfect attendance when it comes to the mandatory work on or at the facility last week for mandatory minicamp. They had 100% attendance there. Even if guys did not practice, they were at least there going through the non-field work that comes with mandatory minicamp. And then for the most part, really good showing at voluntary work, except for yesterday, because yesterday we walk out there, you're watching the stretch lines, and you're like, that stretch line looks kind of thin. It looks like they're missing maybe a full 2 levels of stretch lines there. And this from Teron Davenport, who said no sign the following Titans at final voluntary OTA. And I'll start listing names. So buckle up and get ready. Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat, Traylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Caleb Farley, Tony Pollard, Sebastian Joseph Day, Cheeto Awuzie, L'Jarius Sneed, Elijah Molden, Harold Landry, Tyler Boyd, Chigga Conquo, Marlon Davidson, Quentin Bohannon, TK McClendon, and Nicholas Petit-Frere. That is the list of Titans that were not on the practice field. But that doesn't mean that practice wasn't good, because I thought, Jack, yesterday that was the most eventful, the most competitive driven, spirited practice that I've seen as far as any of these open OTAs or mandatory minicamps. That's 6 practices, 3 voluntary OTAs, and 3 mini camps that I've watched. This one yesterday, missing all those names, is the most spirited practice. How do you feel about that overall? Stars are gone, but and a lot of players, veterans, not out there. But it was happening.
I mean, that's a good sign of culture building, right? I mean, when you have some of your leaders missing and you're still able to ramp up the intensity and still have a really competitive practice, I think that speaks to kind of what the coaching staff's trying to instill with this whole group. So, I'm excited by it. And some of the reports I read, I wasn't out there like you were, but some of the reports I read, some of the takeaways, some of the notes from 7-on-7 stuff, I mean, it was fun just to pay attention to on Twitter. Like, I was just scrolling through my timeline looking at updates after I saw a couple, including one Will Levis update that we'll get to here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I think it's all like New Mexico Titan says it. It's good for the culture.
Yes, good for the culture. And so good for competitive situations overall, because I spent some time on the offensive line. By the way, Sam back in town. Sam was at practice. So I was teaching Sam about Olga and Bertha. And then the offensive line decided to do Olga and Bertha, but with only one arm. And I thought that was interesting to watch. And so then it was catching up on these 7-on-7 drills that had a lot of competition. It saw instances where NWI beats Jarvis Brownlee Jr. on a double move for a touchdown, and NWI catches the football in the end zone, and Jarvis Brownlee Jr., giving up a double move, jumps immediately down into doing push-ups for punishing himself while doing push-ups. Your boy NWI throws the football at Jarvis Brownlee Jr. while doing push-ups, which is usually not what NWI performs like. I will say Jarvis Brownlee Jr. did have a pick 6 on the pylon on Will Levis, where Will Levis was sprinting 50 yards down the field, chasing Jarvis Brownlee Jr. I asked Jarvis if he thought Levis would have caught him and tackled him in real action, and no, he said no, there's no chance. He was running fast, but he goes, I'm a return man. I can make that happen. But then I think the highlight of the day that really caught me off guard and most people off guard is Levis throws another great ball to NWI in the end zone. Nick catches it for a touchdown and then rocks the baby with the football, as he is a new dad as of like 2 weeks ago. And then Will Levis, fired up, charges after NWI. NWI hands the football baby to him, and then Will Levis punts the football about 50 yards into Amulet Lake and over the fence, and just fired that thing off his right foot and screamed with it. And we just all watched that ball sail into the lake, being like, okay, they are here to practice. They're here to get stuff done. And Will Levis, I've never seen anybody punt a football in celebration into that lake before. I've seen 2 footballs go into the lake this offseason. One was a really bad field goal attempt by the backup kicker. And then the other one was Will Levis had a ball bounce on the turf and just hit right to go over the fence. But Levis, no joke, punted the football roughly 50 yards into the lake.
And all of that, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of that came after the defense broke it down and said, come get some, with a colorful expletive at the end, probably firing up the offense. And look, Will Levis is a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve out there. He lets it all hang when he's got the football in his hands out there on the field. He doesn't need the extra motivation, but it seems like the defense gave him a little extra edge out there, So when he found NWI, he sure let him have it. I love that NWI is on demon time, by the way. I think that's awesome. NWI is probably the most mild-mannered, one of the nicest guys that has ever come through the Titans franchise. So to see him heel turn a little bit, I love it. We forget because we spend so much time talking about the wide receivers and how Traylon Burks needs to, carve out a role for himself. NWI got knocked down a few pegs too by these offseason additions. So I'm sure he's got a chip on his shoulder looking to prove to people that, he's caught 10 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. He's very capable of being another reliable option in this Titans offense, even though he's a bit further down the depth chart than he has been in recent years.
Yeah, now I will say NWI did drop a touchdown pass that hit him right in the hands from Levis earlier or throughout the 7-on-7. Levis was 3 of 5 twice in 2 different sets of 7-on-7 red zone work. 2 touchdowns from NWI. I believe Josh Wiley and Kyle Phillips also caught touchdowns. And then he did have the pick 6 that Jarvis Brownlee Jr. had that was probably about a 100-yard return. Bryce Oliver did slip on the interception, but Landry was undercutting that route to the pylon before Bryce Oliver slipped or didn't slip. So overall, look, I understand this is probably a little bit of sarcasm, but Bryce saying, "Oh my God, Austin, our quarterback is showing emotion. How dare he when they're trying to practice?" Almost like football is supposed to be fun. I don't know if it came across this way. I have no problems with Will Levis punting a football into the lake. I don't know who had to go fetch it or if it's just considered lost. And I don't think it's a bad thing. So Bryce, I don't know if I came across incorrectly to you, but I thought that was great. It was a fun practice to watch. When you walk out there and we're getting ready for individual drills, and I look at Travis, May, and Sam, and I say, well, there's no D-Hop, no Ridley, no Burks, no Boyd. I guess we're going to go watch offensive line. And there's no Farley, there's no Pollard, there's no Snead, there's no Cheeto. There's not a lot of guys out here. This is going to be kind of a boring practice. No, it was the opposite of that. It was the most fun practice to watch because, yeah, Jack, you're right. The defense breaks it down before 7-on-7 and basically with a big, you better bring it on offense type of message to them with some 4-letter words mixed in. And you go, okay, this is going to be one of those days. They're going to go all out with it. And they did. And it was fun to watch the competitive spirit amp up. Tajay Spears was out there making plays as well in the passing game. So you really have to like what this – and I think the offense overall won the day in 7-on-7, which is a good thing to see based on how minicamp went for Will Levis last week, where we called him one of the losers of minicamp. But, yes, overall, big-time productive day, fun day, competitive day, spirited day to end OTAs. Last day of school, as Brian Callahan called it.
Yeah, and a lot of teams right now are kind of just going through the motions in minicamp. But for the Titans to be able to find a way to kind of up the intensity, the defense kind of egging on the offense, Will Levis giving the defense a little motivation after he punts the ball in the lake, all that stuff is great for everybody. So, if the defense is flying around the football because Will Levis is giving them a little extra edge, that's fantastic. But if Will Levis feels like he's got something to prove against this defense, and this is a much better defense than Will Levis was throwing against in practice last offseason, then that's also great for the offense's development because, Brian Callahan's going to throw these guys into the fire in the preseason. And, if these guys are already kind of performing like this and already have that kind of mindset in minicamp, then training camp, these guys are going to be able to take a bigger jump and really start to kind of iron out some of the mistakes while also going up against a defense that isn't afraid to go full speed and isn't afraid to try and make their quarterback look like a fool at points, with Jarvis Brownlee taking a pick 6 back to the house. By the way, I don't know if you were in that scrum, but I saw Jim Wyatt post a video of Jarvis Brownlee after practice talking about how he, made a play on the pick, also gave up a play on an NWI touchdown. Mm-hmm. I thought his answer to that and how he said he's starting to gain a lot of confidence was really cool. I'm already becoming a big fan of Jarvis Brownlee. I think he's going to have an impact on this team one way or another in the upcoming season.
Yeah, and I don't know where he's going to line up, but that was the first time that we got to talk to Jarvis Brownlee Jr. in person outside of a Zoom post-draft pick conversation. But I was in there earlier before I think Jim got there. But, yeah, talking to Jarvis Brownlee Jr., he's excited and all that kind of thing. I see Nate's burner. We didn't say Levis was a loser, Austin. That was you, my guy. I'm saying we as in the show, not like you, Nate, burner, whatever. So, anyway, let's get to this ridiculous narrative after Will Levis did punt NWI's football baby into the lake about 50 yards. Ridiculous narrative regarding Traylon Burks that I thought Tyke Tolbert did a phenomenal job with yesterday. We'll talk about that. We'll play you some audio that you need to hear, and I'm not going to hold back a damn bit when it comes to what I think about this. But first, let me tell you guys all about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. They can help you out when it comes to saving you money and getting you better health coverage with yourself, your family situation, whatever it may be. Farm Bureau Health Plans can do that for you. They've been protecting Tennesseans for over 77, going on 78 years. That's generations and generations of Tennesseans with technology changing and adapting, and Farm Bureau Health Plans is there to evolve with you right lockstep. So they can take care of you for health, dental, vision. Don't pay out of pocket and go to the dentist. That's dumb. Don't pay out of pocket for your contact lenses. You can avoid that. Farm Bureau Health Plans can do that for you, just like they have done with Zach Bingham, just like they've done with my parents in the recent months. They can do that for you as well. So check them out online and get a quote with our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
BetMGM.com. Use our bonus code A to Z Sports for new users when you sign up. If you're looking to switch sports books or you're looking to just get in the game in general, do it with the king of sports books, BetMGM. They're offering up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, as long as you sign up with our bonus code A to Z Sports. So if you don't have the app, go ahead and download it, plug in that bonus code, and reap the rewards immediately. They've got your back if that first one misses, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, only at BetMGM and only with bonus code A to Z Sports.
All right, so make sure you hit that like button. I see Just Smash is telling people to like the show, need people to like the show here on Facebook and on YouTube. We've got a lot more people on YouTube right now, and they need to be liking the show because Facebook, smaller audience over there this morning, but carrying the like load just as well. I don't know where King VC's at this morning here on June 12th on a Wednesday, but hit that like button for us. That goes a long way, so we appreciate that. Okay. So New Mexico Titan says, I'm so sick of hearing about Burks rumors. Show me something during the season or I don't care. And I get that. That's totally fine because I do think for a lot of everybody, there is Traylon Burks conversation fatigue. And I think there is something that I think we have the need to do here and call something out as a show with our platform that I think is exactly what we're going to do here that is absolutely ridiculous. So I'll set this up. Trevor Maddich of ESPN, who's been a longtime college football analyst and person that's been around the sport of football for a long time. And he's done a great job with his career throughout ESPN. But I noticed that Trevor was at Titans practice last week during mandatory minicamp, taking in a couple of days of practice. And he went on with Jared Stillman on 102.5 after one of those practices and said something that I think is flat out irresponsible. So I'm going to play this clip of what Trevor Maddich said to Jared Stillman on 102.5 last week. And then I'm going to tell you how I really feel about how irresponsible Trevor exactly was last week about Traylon Burks.
In this one snapshot, Traylon Burks, I would cut him today if I was the coach because of the way he practiced. I mean, one drill that they did was a short in route where there was a big old blocking dummy, and they had to run up about 5 yards and then make a little move and then cut straight across the field to the inside, and the quarterback could throw him the ball there about 5 yards downfield. Well, the other veteran receivers, the young rookies trying to make the team, they saw the play through. They came off the ball hard. They broke hard to the left or to the right, depending on the direction they were going. They would catch the ball, look the ball in to secure it, as if they were about to get hit, and then make a move and turn upfield before they would lose their mental focus. Whereas Traylon Burks would come off the ball hard, make a good cut to the left, and then when the ball approached, he'd just pull up. He'd catch it, lackadaisically start to pull it in to secure it, turn and jog up the field a few steps, and he just did that over and over again. Traylon Burks mentally wasn't finishing plays. He was stopping as soon as he possibly could and then slowed down and just jogged to the rest of the way. I am disgusted at how he practiced as a receiver today.
So that's Trevor Maddich with Jared on 102.5 The Game, talking about a practice that happened on June 4th that was in the bubble, and Traylon Burks was going through the motions in that particular period. Now, I believe this is completely irresponsible media coverage, and this is the perfect example of it. Trevor Maddich is not a daily Titans media member. Trevor Maddich, I don't know how often he goes to practice. I think I probably go to Titans practices more than Trevor Maddich, and I don't go to Titans practices all the time. I go during this time of the year, and I go to probably about 80% of training camp, and I've been doing that for 11 years. And I'm doing it less now in years 9, 10, and 11. This upcoming training camp will be number 12, and I have an idea of how Titans practice under, Mike Munchak, under Ken Wisenhunt, under Mike Mularkey, under Mike Vrabel, and now under Brian Callahan. And I also understand that every player doesn't go all out in every drill at any point of the season. And everybody has their own individual plan. And if Trevor Maddich has been around football for as long as I know that he's been around football, which is probably close to twice my age. Not quite twice my age, but he's probably been around football for 45, 50 years, considering his experience and what he's been doing. This is irresponsible media coverage. He started off his comment by saying, in this snapshot, right? That's all it was, a snapshot. You watched 8 minutes of a wide receiver individual period on June 4th in the bubble when it had been raining outside, and Traylon Burks, and you started all this thing of a personal attack about a player's work ethic. And let me be clear, I have been probably one of the hardest people on Traylon Burks in this market for the last 2+ years. And so I think it's irresponsible for somebody to go out there and to spew this on a radio show for everybody who wasn't there. It's a small group of media that goes to mandatory minicamp practices. We have a small portion of practice that we are allowed to video to put out there to represent the work that's being done. Logan Ryan did not like that A to Z Sports would post one-on-one wide receiver DB reps because the drill is set up for wide receivers to win, and he thought that that would embarrass his cornerbacks. You can say, at least he told us that, and I understand where he's coming from, because that is a snapshot of practice that's not a true representation of what those players are and what practice is. And so I think it is ridiculous for Trevor Maddich to say he would cut him today based on an individual drill that he has no idea about. Because here is Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach, yesterday when asked about Traylon Burks' practice efforts.
Great. You know, effort's been good. One of the things that somebody said something about his effort in practice the other day, the one thing I would mention that a lot of those guys come straight from special teams and they're running like 100 yards up and down the field. And when they get to my period, my individual period, we have only 8 minutes. So what I tell them to do is they can tone it down a little bit, go through the route technique part of it, not so much speed, because after 8 minutes, we go back full speed with the routes on there with the quarterbacks. So some of that, I give him a little leeway, because especially like on the kickoff team or punt team as a gunner, he's taking more reps, probably twice as many reps as rookies are. So I'm trying to give him a little bit of a break when he gets to my particular area. As far as running full speed technique, I won't waver on that. But as far as going full speed in my drills, I don't have him do that on some days when they're doing a lot of running on special teams. So
it's almost like reporters should ask coaches for extra context so they can know what they're going to say on radio airwaves, right? So, Jack, I've talked a lot about this. I'll give you the floor. And I did tag Trevor Maddich in this tweet about what we were going to talk about here. So I'm not trying to run away from anything. I don't know if I'll see him out there at training camp or not. But if I were the Titans, I'd be pissed at what Trevor Maddich said about Traylon Burks, because he added no context to it. He took a snapshot and made it about a person's work ethic and personal character. So, Jack, I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, let's first understand who Trevor Maddich was as a player. He played 12 seasons in the NFL, started just 23 games over that time span. He was a long snapper.
Yeah,
Okay.
but hey, like, my
23 more
son will
starts
learn
than I
how.
did.
My
But
son will learn how to long snap, because if you can do it, if you can play 12 years in the NFL as a long snapper, then sign me up all day long.
sure, but the thing is, like, unlike Traylon Burks, like Trevor Maddich had to work for every single snap that he ever got. Like Traylon Burks, was born with an athletic gift, a physical gift, to where if you can just add technique on top of that, add work ethic on top of that, then you're going to have something really special. And the Titans fans are still holding out to see if that version of Traylon Burks ever appears for them. When you're judging Traylon Burks off one practice in minicamp, when you're judging Traylon Burks off tight angle shots from minicamp and in individual drills, you're not really the proper context isn't really being applied. So Tyke Tolbert, a guy who's in his first season working for Traylon Burks, stuck up for him like we just saw and said, you know what? Sometimes I don't want the receivers going 100%. Sometimes 60% will do. But they always ask before the drill, how hard should we be going? Traylon Burks learning gunner, right? This is an offseason where he's going to start learning how to play special teams roles, whether that's return man, whether that's gunner. Those roles require a lot of energy. Those are all max effort roles. So you can't kind of go 50% as a gunner. It's got to be 100% of the time. And Traylon Burks is going to be a little gassed after that, like any of these other guys will be doing, like NWI, like Colton Dow.
Especially, I'll say this: special teams period. It's a kick team versus return team. It is a gunner is not just running on air. The gunner is working against a punt return cornerback who's working to jam said gunner. And so it is a competitive period for the first 50% of that rep before Burks or whoever's the gunner chases a punt 50 yards down the field to either catch it in the air or down it and get on it and stop it from rolling in the end zone, right? Like there's so much more extra competitiveness in a special teams period compared to an individual period.
Yeah, so I mean that's why we can't judge an opinion off of one video from practice we see, because we don't know what Tolbert said to these guys before on how hard they should be going, what percent they should be giving. So this is just another level to the Traylon Burks discussion. I feel like because he's such a lightning rod right now, because he was a first-round draft pick, because he's underperformed and hasn't been available as much as he should have been at this point in his career, people are kind of reaching and grasping for straws to try and drag him down through this whole effort illusion. Like he's not giving full effort. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's plenty of stuff that you can fairly criticize Traylon Burks for doing or not doing. But
yes,
effort in minicamp after working with a special teams unit, then going straight to receiver work, that's not even close to one of them. People are getting really lazy this offseason. Local media are getting really lazy in how they cover Traylon Burks and how they kind of dissect the Traylon Burks discussion. I wonder if they're just running out of creative ideas to formulate shows around. I wonder if they're just trying to kill a few minutes on the air. I don't know what they're trying to do here, but the Traylon Burks discussion has really turned really, really lazy.
Yes, and a little bit toxic. And I remember where I'm at on this, because I will believe it when I see it from Traylon Burks. I hope he succeeds. Is he going to? It's a complete coin toss at this point, and I don't even know if it's a coin toss 50-50. Maybe it's a little bit less likely that he succeeds than it is that he does succeed as an NFL first-round pick wide receiver with a lot of expectations. And so I think with Traylon Burks this thing started with us not knowing the context. That is why I pounded the table so loud in the offseason of 2022 for the Titans to tell us if Traylon Burks has asthma or not. Because if Traylon Burks has asthma, oh, okay, that makes sense why he was struggling with drills in May and June. Thank you for letting us know that context. But the fact that Mike Vrabel and they didn't want to tell us that created this speculation that Traylon Burks is lazy and shows up out of shape. He's a naturally bigger guy that carries extra weight, so he's not going to look good. And people take the picture of the wind blowing his t-shirt, walking in from the parking garage. Now, oh, look, he's out of shape. Like, it's all of this nonsense that started over 2 years ago. And so from where I'm at right now is that I think I've learned over the years of covering a professional football team that you truly don't know what the plan is for each player on any given day. I don't know. Jeff Simmons has a plan. He hasn't practiced at all. He's worn his jersey out there a couple times and showed face on the sideline, but I haven't seen him with a helmet. He's got a plan. Devondre Sweat clearly has a plan, as does NPF, as does L'Jarius Sneed, as does Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, and Treylon Burks. They all have a plan, and they're all not going to go 100% in the month of May and June. You know who is going to go 100%? Sam Schnee, who is an undrafted free agent wide receiver out of the University of Northern Iowa. He's going to go 100% on every snap. Mason Kinsey goes 100% on every snap. Why? Because he has to, right? Kyle Phillips has to go 100% on every snap. Treylon Burks, who's trying to get healthy and stay healthy for the actual regular season because we don't give a damn about training camp. Like everybody here, we can put up a poll. How much do you give a damn about Treylon Burks' training camp? 0, some, or everything. 0 is going to be the answer. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to put up a YouTube poll. How much do you give a damn about Treylon Burks' training camp performance? 0, a little bit, or everything. That is going to be my 3 options. Do I need to add in another option, Jack? Or you like 0, a little bit, or everything?
I mean, I think that those 3 are fine options. I think that really you only need one option because I feel like it'll get over 80% of the votes. But while you're throwing that up there, let's get to a couple chats here. Forrest Tucker says, dude, they get paid millions. Burke should be going 100%, especially in his situation. He's with Stillman and Trevor, regardless if he came from special teams or not. And he's not the only one who feels that way. Andre Bunting says, the context is Burks has been a bum at this point and needs to be going all out. So I get it. Like, we all want Treylon Burks to have a great training camp. We all want him to have a great mini camp. We all want him to be giving max effort and try and make an impression on this new coaching staff who doesn't view him as a starter at wide receiver right now. We all want Treylon Burks to take that next step. But what does he have to gain in training camp at this thing? Or
this isn't training camp.
At mini camp at this point.
That's the crazy.
He's got nothing to gain. We saw him ball out last training camp. And what happened on Sundays? A whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of disappointment. So whether Treylon Burks has another great training camp or not, the chat, the media, nobody's really going to give a damn because at this point, entering year 3 in Treylon Burks' career, if he's not performing on Sundays, then the Titans are going to have to make a decision on him. So whether he has the greatest training camp of his life or whether it's just an average training camp, none of that's going to matter if he doesn't perform on Sunday. He's learning the new offense. He's still building a rapport with Will Levis. Will Levis is entering his first season as a full-time starter. A lot of these guys still have a lot of ground to make up with Will Levis in that regard. Treylon Burks not going 100% in early June, I could care less. As long as he's out there, because being out there, hasn't been one of his strengths so far in his first 2 seasons as a Titan. As long as he's out there on the field, performing when he's called upon on Sundays, that's what I care about. There's not going to be anything he can do to gain more trust in my eyes during training camp. He's going to go out there and prove it on Sundays. That's the bottom line for me.
Yeah, and so I'll let the poll on YouTube continue to gain votes. I just put it out there about a minute and a half ago. So we'll see. The poll I have is, how much do you give a damn about Treylon Burks' training camp performance? 0, a little, or everything? Because, Jack, I think you agree with me that Treylon Burks showing good signs in not September doesn't really matter until you get to September. And so somebody says that there's a troll named Jane in here. Let me see if I got you. I will take care of Jane Victory, who is just taking defeat with me blocking Jane right there on Facebook. So thanks, guys. All right. So Treylon Burks I think this is the value of covering a team with frequency and not just showing up to a mini camp practice here or there or a training camp practice here or there like Trevor Maddich is doing, because you learn the people. I know that Treylon Burks doesn't ooze urgency. He is a very relaxed, chill person. That doesn't mean Treylon Burks is the guy that walks on the sidewalk at like 0.5 miles per hour. And you're like, God, I got to get around this guy. Like, why is he walking so slow? But he can also run 22.6 miles per hour in a practice field because that's what his GPS device said he did in April, right? So I think Treylon Burks doesn't have urgency. He doesn't ooze urgency. Calvin Ridley does. The way Calvin Ridley moves looks twitchy, freaky, urgent. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't ooze urgency. He's a very chill, laid back kind of cat. Like you would describe DeAndre Hopkins as like a cool cat of like chill, always kind of smooth. But he does have a segment to turn it on because he is a twitchier athlete than Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks is a more powerful athlete than he is twitchy. And so when you're watching Treylon Burks next to a lot of guys that are twitchier, he doesn't look great. He's a very much a person who makes running fast look like he's not trying that hard. Like I'll play this deep. I think I still have the video of the Burks deep ball from practice where he's just kind of striding this thing out, and it looks like it's very minimal effort. Like when Calvin Ridley runs a go route, his arms and knees are flying and going, and like you're thinking this guy's moving so fast. But Burks is a smooth runner, not a twitchy runner. And so it doesn't look the same. And you also learn by people's demeanor by covering a team with frequency that Treylon Burks is not going to be a yelling up high energy talker. But what I've seen from Treylon Burks this offseason throughout May and June is that he's engaged. I've seen him have conversations with his fellow wide receivers more often than I have the previous couple of years. And this is just my take on my eyes and what I've seen through 5 practices where Burks has been out there. He was not out there yesterday. And I'll read the list of guys that were not out there yesterday from Teron Davenport again. And I'm just going to tell you what I think happened. Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat, Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Caleb Farley, Tony Pollard, Sebastian Joseph-Day, Chidobe Awuzie, L'Jarius Sneed, Elijah Molden, Harold Landry, Tyler Boyd, Chiga Conquo, Marlon Davidson, Quentin Bohannon, TK McClendon, Nicholas Petit-Frere. The first half of that list, probably up until you get to the majority of that list, probably until you get to Quentin Bohannon, TK McClendon, and really just those 2 guys, or maybe everybody's going to make the team on that list. And they want to see guys out there at practice who are fringe guys who can elevate with more opportunity, because there's no point in all those names that we know to practice on June 11th before having 6 weeks off to potentially tweak something. I think that was a coach's decision on all those guys I named. Nope, don't worry about it. Like, don't even go out there and try to stress something. It's you guys have the day off. Team coach's decision. That is my take on this, on how I think. So Treylon Burks is in the group of people that the coaches felt like didn't need to practice. So I think that's something you should take away from that too.
And that's probably because of the intensity level yesterday. If they're going to go hard and all out and start trash talking each other on offense and defense, then you probably want to take some of your stars out of harm's way, because again, it's early June. Andre says, just like any job, if a guy isn't showing that he wants to be there, then you are less inclined to give him help or opportunity. Everything we've heard from the coaching staff goes against that comment. Brian Callahan says he's been a total pro. He's been open to everything, whether that's a role on special teams, whether that's learning the slot, whether that's learning outside, wide receiver. All of these things Treylon Burks has been willing to learn and take on. So it's new responsibilities. All that we've heard from this coaching staff, and the coaching staff's opinions matter a hell of a lot more than ours or anybody's in the chats. The coaching staff has been impressed with his willingness to adapt to his new role. So that's all that should matter here. And the last thing on this, Trevor Maddox said the Titans should cut Treylon Burks.
He said he would cut him, right?
What does that do? What does cutting Treylon Burks right now do? Because there's another team that's going to pick him up out there. And you've still got another year with Treylon Burks before you really have to start making a decision. Should we trade Treylon Burks? Maybe should we part ways with him? I don't know. It's a new system, and Brian Callahan's system, multiple wide receivers are able to have success. I mean, hell, Trenton Irwin, I think, had a 100-yard game last year for the Bengals. So there's a handful of opportunities that are going to be provided to Treylon Burks this season, whether a wide receiver misses a game or here or there, because the Titans don't have the youngest group out there right now at wide receiver. Or, Treylon Burks just pops off one game because he wants to, because he feels like it. There's going to be opportunities for him to shine, and I don't know why you would cut him before you give him experience in an actually productive offense. The Titans offense has been inefficient, inconsistent, predictable, all these bad adjectives that we've used over the last 2 years to describe the Titans offense. Treylon Burks hasn't benefited from any of that. You've finally got an offense that looks like they know what they're doing. It feels like Brian Callahan's got a good plan for wide receivers. It feels like he's finally going to start catering to some of these guys' talents on the outside and, in the backfield. Why not give Treylon Burks a year under that and see what he can become? Cutting Treylon Burks now is foolish and is a perfect example of why nobody should ever entertain the idea of Trevor Maddich having any control over player personnel in the NFL.
Yeah, and look, again, just to reiterate my feelings on what Trevor Maddich said, it is irresponsible media coverage to take what Trevor Maddich called as this snapshot of one practice on June 4th. He would cut Treylon Burks for how he's practicing, and he is disgusted by how he's practicing without any context. Without any context. This is why athletes hate media. This is why. Because when Jason Wolf asked Jarrell Casey, hey, Jarrell, what do you think about players that are not here during voluntary work and their commitment or lack thereof to the team? And Jarrell Casey, not knowing that Derrick Henry wasn't there for voluntary workouts and that he was at Alabama finishing a degree, Jarrell Casey answered that leading question from Jason Wolf, formerly the Tennessean who got ran out of town and never would hear from Jarrell Casey again. Jarrell Casey said, that shows me that they're not ready to back me up when I'm ready to back them up, or something like that, right? Jarrell Casey, not knowing the context of that leading question, changed a lot of things where he had to go sort things out with Henry. And there was a thing. And Jason Wolf was a bad, irresponsible media member because of that. That is what this is. This is why you have football coaches and players and other athletes that are just hating the media, or they don't say anything in the media because they're afraid of somebody spinning something in an irresponsible way. And to say that you're disgusted in how he practiced in one session and that you would cut him because of that is not indicative of anybody's job performance, right?
Yeah, let's just have honest conversations about these guys. We don't have to go full shock jock because we're running out of material at this point in the offseason. Let's just be honest. Look, a lot of reasons to criticize Treylon Burks. I've been critical of him on this show. But the whole effort situation, give me a break.
Yes, be critical of him. Is he catching the football when he's open? Is he dropping the football? Is he making blocks? Is he running the right routes? Is he making mental mistakes? But his effort, I don't think, is anything that can be taken a shot at. Sean Gill, I think, Jack, let's pencil this as a future conversation. So Burks is a lock to make the team. What's the pressure behind him look like to overtake him on the depth chart? I think that's a conversation, Jack, that I will screenshot, and we will I'll text that screenshot to you so we can have that for another day, because I think we've kind of run the course on the Trevor Maddich conversation about Treylon Burks. But Tyke Tolbert did back up Treylon Burks yesterday with how this team, or how with what Trevor Maddich said about his efforts. So now let's get to that Seahawks graphic on the screen right there and talk about the joint practices with the Seattle Seahawks coming up in training camp. And I'll update our training camp poll from YouTube here in a second. But first, let me tell everybody about our great friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can turn to. And that's the folks at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, off of Highway 96 and I-65 is their main campus. Everything's right there. All the experts, all the technology, all the resources, the beautiful rehab facility and surgery center, all under one roof. You don't have to worry about going around town to different places for imaging and testing and clinics and rehab and everything. But you can also do rehab where it's convenient to you. I'm going to physical therapy today for my knee tendonitis at the Brentwood location. They've also got one in Nolensville and Thompson Station and Franklin again, and they're growing across Williamson County. So wherever you are in Middle Tennessee, there's one place to get that injury taken care of, and it is the Bone and Joint Institute. Book an appointment today, boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM.com. It's the king of sports books. Look, if you're looking to get some skin in the game, if you're looking to bet on the College World Series, if you're looking to bet on Game 3 of the NBA Finals, BetMGM is the place to do it. It's an easy app to navigate for new users. They've got parlay selection features, live betting odds, boosted odds specials. You name it, BetMGM's got it, and it's all super easy to access. If you want to do college win total, NFL season props, all that's available on BetMGM. But make sure you sign up with code A to Z Sports when you do, because you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. BetMGM's got your back on that first bet. If you miss it, no sweat. BetMGM's got you covered up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, only when you sign up on BetMGM with bonus code A to Z Sports.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification. Eligible requirements. First online real money wager. Only rewards issued in knowledgeable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for a problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. All right, Jack. So we're going to talk in a second about the joint practices with the Seahawks. I'm going to ask you guys, what position group do you think the Titans will benefit the most from practicing against the Seahawks? So what Titans position group will benefit the most from joint practices with the Seahawks? That'll be coming up here in a second, but I do want to update our Traylon Burks poll real quick, Jack. And I'm surprised. I think some people are not being fully honest with our poll. I said, how much do you give a damn about Traylon Burks' training camp performance? 0, a little, or everything? Only 53% said 0. 35% said a little, and then 12% says everything. I think a lot of you guys are lying to yourself about the a little or everything, because I know that if Traylon Burks has good training camp, you're going to say, I don't care. I just want to see him do it in a game. Like, right? Like that is where everybody's going to default to. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised by those results as well. All right. Let's get to the chat here, Austin. Which Titans position group will benefit most from upcoming joint practices with the Seattle Seahawks? We're going to dive in on Facebook to start with Ashley, who thinks the O-line will be the position group that benefits most. IR Hoshi says cornerbacks, run defense from Lucas, Levis, DBs, O-line, cornerbacks, linebacker, DBs, O-line, wide receivers from Eric and Steve. The offense in general, says Ramon, because the Seahawks defense isn't anything to be trifled with. New Mexico Titans says quarterback. We've got offensive line from Mario and Corey. Defensive backs, JR says O-line. O-line's probably the most popular answer. You see Pistol Ramsey in top tier, as well as MB getting in on the action on the O-line. Quarterback, O-line, quarterback, receiver core, O-line, QBs. All right, I think there's two position groups that are going to benefit more than the rest. The wide receivers and the defensive backs. Those are the two position groups where you've brought in the most talent this offseason. There's been more change at those two position groups than really anywhere else. So you can argue the offensive line. Well, the offensive line's a fair answer, depending on who starts on the right side. But I think that the wide receivers the Titans brought in are going to be tested. They're going to be going up against the Seattle Seahawks secondary that's very respectable. They've got Witherspoon on one side, Reek Woolen on the other. Safeties, Rayshon Jenkins, Julian Love, even their slot guy in Michael Jackson. Austin Huff brought his name up yesterday, and it took about 5 minutes to get the train back on the tracks after all the Michael Jackson references. But anyways, that's a really respectable group in the secondary right there. So Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Levis, Brian Callahan, all these guys are going to have a really tough test in training camp going up against a defense like that who can, force you into making some bad decisions, making some mistakes. And what I like most about this is Mike McDonald, the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks, first-year head coach. Brian Callahan, first-year head coach. These guys aren't going to hold anything back in training camp. They've got a lot of answers they've got to figure out this period of time. So I think two first-year head coaches trying to figure out some answers, finding out what they do well, what needs to be worked on, that's going to be really beneficial for the Titans because they've got a lot of kinks to work out on both sides of the ball with two new coordinators, plenty of new talent. But Austin, I talked about the wide receivers, but I think the defensive backs are going to be the group that benefits the most. Okay. I really do, because you're talking about a defense that Denard Wilson ran last year in Baltimore that forced takeaways. They led the league in interceptions. They were up there in the top 2 or 3 in that category. The Titans brought in L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie to take the football away. You're going up against DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba with Jake Bobo, who's a matchup problem. So that's going to help you figure out some stuff too, just matchup wise, right? You're going to learn a lot about your linebackers, I think, with Bobo out there. But I really do think that that's as tough a test as you could really ask for in training camp. You're talking about a top 5, top 10 wide receiver trio that Seattle has. You want to throw your cornerbacks into the fire immediately. You got to figure out what they can do and you know how they fit into Denard Wilson's scheme. So when it comes to the position group that I think will benefit most, it's the cornerbacks, because that's the position group that will be pushed the hardest just based on who they're going up against.
That's interesting, because you know what's funny is that the wide receiver group and the cornerback group are probably the most veteran starting unit the Titans have. Isn't that wild to think about?
They're all new though.
Yeah, they are new, yes, but they're like, I don't have any worries about DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. I don't have any worries about Cheeto Uzie and L'Jarius Sneed, as long as Sneed can participate and his knees okay and they're managed, right? But like about their play. And that's crazy to think about over what we've seen the last couple of years since A.J. Brown was gone. And I guess since my man catch no balls with Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan, Kevin Byard, Kenny Vaccaro, and who is the fifth? Adoree Jackson, I guess, would be the fifth guy.
Free agent Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, right. Still is a free agent. So I do think that's interesting that you think the corners are the way to go. There's no doubt that look, Laviska Shenault is in Seattle as well, who has been a former Jag that Titans fans have seen for sure. Like they do have a really good group of pass catchers, including Noah Fant at tight end to test. But I think I'm going to say something that's kind of like not answering the question, but I'll come back to that. I think that Seahawks are the perfect joint practice partner with the Tennessee Titans. Now, I did hear Brian Callahan talk after his press conference yesterday to a couple media members off to the side. And they looked at working with San Francisco with some joint practices, but they had already had something set up with another preseason opponent. And then the other team the Titans are playing in the preseason, they're at New Orleans. They had already had something set up, I think, with San Francisco the week before. And so that's why that didn't work out, but it worked out with Seattle. I think why it's perfect for the Titans and the Seahawks is because you have Mike McDonald, former D coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, and Denard Wilson, former DB coach of the Baltimore Ravens last year. They're going to run very similar defenses. They have a comfort level with each other. And so I think in joint practices, especially AFC versus NFC team, first-year head coach, I think there's going to be a comfort level of Denard and McDonald know each other and what they're going to do. So there's no like protectiveness over schematic things. It's, hey, can you throw some things at my guys and we'll do that for you so we can prepare and see something different. And so I think that is why it's a really good way to pick these joint practices, because there's that familiarity on the coaching staff where everybody's in a new place. And so I think my answer to the question is the offensive line, because Mike McDonald throws 7 different types of smoke at you with his pressure packages, just like Denard does. And when you look at the Seattle Seahawks roster, Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed are legit guys, but like their edge rushers are, not like the biggest names. Like I'm looking at Mike Clayton's projections for stats across the NFL for 2024. He projects Boy Mafe to have 7.4 sacks to lead the Seahawks this upcoming season. They've got a lot of guys that might get between 3 to 7 sacks on the year, not like one guy. And so if you're practicing against the Steelers, it's how can I get better going up against TJ Watt? I think this joint practice is more about how can this Titans offensive line get better as a unit going up against Mike McDonald's 7 different types of smoke. That instead of like one guy, right? Like Leonard Williams is a good player. Reed's a good player, but they're not superstar, right? It's not like Vita Vea coming and working the interior offensive line a couple of years ago when the Bucs were here. It's not Jason Pierre-Paul versus Taylor Lewan in joint practices, veterans getting after it with each other. I think it's more mental work versus the Seahawks than it is player versus player matchups. So I like the offensive line.
Okay, I hear you. Darius brings up a great point that McDonald knows Callahan's offense too, because McDonald was calling the defense for the Ravens. Callahan, obviously, on the offensive staff for the Bengals. So they're going into these joint practices with a bit of a head start. So they're not just going to be doing surface level stuff to kind of, just throw stuff at the wall. They're going to be doing like second, third level stuff, some advanced, some advanced pressures, some advanced looks. It's just good. They're going to be able to dive a little bit deeper. And you mentioned the comfortability that Wilson and McDonald have. I think that that's great. I do really believe that 2 first-year head coaches, joint practices against each other, is trying to establish a culture. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be fiery. And they're going to be able to learn a whole lot about who they are. Like if you're practicing against the San Francisco 49ers, the Niners already know who they are. They've already got an identity. They may not, they may hold some stuff back. But the Seahawks have to figure it out fast because they've got a competitive roster. That roster should be in contention for a playoff spot. The Titans now have a competitive roster. They've got to figure it out fast because if they drop that week 1 game in Chicago, they're in big trouble early. So I think that both of these teams are going to be willing to throw kind of the kitchen sink at each other, and that's going to be beneficial for both squads. They're not going to see each other on the schedule in the regular season. They really have no ties outside of maybe a matchup down the road and, next year, the year after. So I think it's an opportunity where they can kind of throw everything at the wall and go from there. I think it's going to be a great learning experience for the coaches, but also really help these players kind of take that big leap right before the regular season gets here. So I love this. I love this training camp idea.
The Titans play the Seahawks last year, or was that 2022?
2022, I believe.
When Gino, they came here.
And Julio caught the touchdown that wasn't a touchdown.
That was 21. That was
at 21. Okay.
They did just come here within the last 2 years. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. It wasn't last year. I think it was
they did play last year.
Last year in Tennessee. Yeah, I thought it was a Nashville game. I think it was one of those games the Titans had a chance to win and then lost at the last second.
Yeah, one of those 7. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
They all blend together.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's driving me insane. So I gotta figure this out real quick of what that final score was. I guess I blocked a lot of tail in the last season out.
We were at Acme for it.
We were at Acme for it. Let's see. This is taking me way too long to find this. Oh wow! I just noticed breaking news that NBA great Jerry West has passed away.
Wow.
At 86.
Terrible.
So there's that live news. But 20-17, Titans lost. That was a Ryan Tannehill game. It was the week right after Levis got hurt against the Texans and lost that overtime game at home. And so Tannehill played that game.
You're right.
Yeah.
And that was do you want the Titans to win this game? Or do you want them to lose this game?
Oh, I remember. It's coming back to me now because our guy Shrike just threw a comment in here. Tannehill played and Avery gave up the losing touchdown. Yep. Colby Parkinson, 5-yard touchdown with a minute left. Put the Seahawks up 20. The Titans were winning with 1 minute left until that happened. Man.
Death by Parkinson.
Colby Parkinson. Yeah. And yes, RIP to the logo, Jerry West, who passed
NBA's
away.
lost a couple of legends here lately. Sad.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Jack, are you ready for a little trivia action? We're going to go rapid fire with our trivia like we have been the last couple weeks. We know our time to beat is 4:42 with 100% accuracy. We beat the time last week, but we missed the question. So we'll get to our sports trivia here on a Wednesday, but first, real quick, going to tell all you guys about our great friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see Wilson County Hyundai in Lebanon. Say hey to Payne Bone while you're out there checking out the lot and what they have to offer, or see them online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Jack, are you ready for trivia?
I'm ready.
All right, let's hit our buttons now. Let's see if we get our graphics rolling at the same time. All right, not terrible delay on this. Okay, so our new rules for our rapid fire trivia on Wednesday. there is no Googling. There is no Googling. Hopefully, we're going too fast to protect against Googling. The NFL is the first category. I will pick the next 3 categories from the chat. So if you in the chat want to share the category that you want to be second, third, and fourth, please do that now in the chat if you've got it. I don't know if my chat is frozen. I'm not seeing comments rolling.
We need the chat.
There we go. Now all of a sudden they just popped up. I think there's a little delay there. So okay. So we will do NFL, music, television, and snacks.
Golly,
And I'll just
all
go
over
in.
the board.
Yeah. So NFL, music, TV, snacks, and candy. So NFL, music, TV, snacks, and candy. All right.
Okay.
NFL, let's do it. We're going fast.
After 7 years in Minnesota, the Vikings traded Dante Culpepper to this AFC team in 2006. Miami Dolphins.
Yes. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. All right. Music.
This American singer-songwriter is most known for 2010 hits or like Honey, I'm Good and Keep Your Head Up and Fine by Me. Honey, I'm Good, Keep Your Head Up and Fine by Me. All right, chat. In parentheses, I know it if you know it, so we know who to go off of. We had a bit of a serial snafu last week.
Yeah, I feel like the chat's behind.
Honey,
this is
I'm
not
good.
Andy Grammer from Josh. Andy Grammer.
Okay. Boom.
All right. Television.
This reality series following a former model and Playboy playmate ran on E from 2002, 2004, with its first season being the most watched show in E network history. Is this the show with Kendra and Hank Bass?
Is this Girls Next Door?
Possibly.
The Girl Next Door? The bunny? Oh, there's 2. I think it's the LAC says Baywatch. I don't think it's that.
02 to 04.
I think it's Girls Next Door Bunny House.
Okay. It's not.
Oh.
All right, snacks and candy. This candy bar is made with chocolate peanut flavored crisps and caramel and is known for its unusual zany name. Chocolate peanut flavored crisps.
What?
Caramel. Kit Kat, possibly? No. No caramel in that.
Twix? It's
Whatchamacallit.
Whatchamacallit.
I was going to say, it's not that zany.
Yeah.
All right, where's next?
Geography.
What is the capital of Sweden? Is it Stockholm? Or is that Switzerland?
I get Switzerland and Sweden mixed up all the damn time. Zagnut. Is that I don't know if that's I think that's a candy bar name, guess.
Oh.
Capital Sweden. Stockholm? Denmark? No, Stockholm.
Denmark's definitely a country. All right.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
David said Denmark.
All right, we're going to golf.
Okay.
This South African golfer won the 2010 Open Championship and has been a runner-up in 3 other majors, including finishing runner-up twice at the U.S. Open. Would this be Louis Oosthuizen? I'm not sure.
That seems like it could be correct to me.
Let's wait for a chat comment just to make sure.
South African. Yeah. Jeff and Amber says Oosthuizen.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, boom. Movies.
This 05 sports comedy film, Herbie Fully Loaded, starred what actress in the lead role? Oh, no.
I've never seen this movie.
Oh, I've seen it. I'm going to need help, though. Chat, we need you here. We're at 3:14, so we've got just under a minute to finish up here.
Lindsay Lohan?
Should we run it?
Yeah, that's chat's all over it.
Okay, cool. NBA. Jalen Rose led this Eastern Conference team that went to the 2000 NBA Finals in points per game during the regular season. Would that be the Toronto Raptors?
I thought that was the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, it could be the Indiana Pacers.
That's absolutely the Indiana Pacers.
All right, let's do Indiana Pacers. Bang. Celebrity mashup. Oh, boy. Is it Bill Clinton, one of these?
The outside might be. I don't know. It's very sad eyes in the center.
Bill Clinton kind of has like that thin
I don't think that's Bill
head
Clinton.
shape. No?
The dude from Shameless. Somebody says Jeffrey White. Who is
Jeremy Allen White?
Jeremy Allen White is another guess.
Good call. Good call. The eye. He's definitely the inside.
And Dustin Hoffman, maybe an older Dustin Hoffman.
Are we comfortable with that?
Let's do it.
Double dip. All right.
We got it right. Dip. So yes. All right. So this is the so click on television.
This reality series we already missed our time. This reality series following a former model and Playboy playmate ran on E 02 to 04.
Somebody said it's something about it's Kendra. People are saying Kendra.
That's what I thought. Kendra.
Is it just? Well, we're looking for the name of the show.
I feel like it was Kendra. I feel like that could have been the name.
Holly
I remember Hank Basket
is what
Holly
David's saying. Holly's show. I don't remember what it's called.
Holly's World?
Holly's World? People are saying Kendra.
I feel like it is Kendra. That's kind of what I want to guess, so I'm going to guess.
The Simple Life? What? I don't know what the show is.
I'm going to guess Kendra.
There's no way it's right. Wild On? Holly's World? Big Timmy Tay says Wild On with Brooke Burke.
Missed
it. Wait, did we miss the middle? Hold on.
No, we got the middle. We just missed the daily dip.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did. Damn, that was bad. So what was the answer?
I don't know. I wish I could see.
We said The Girls Next Door.
I thought my gut was telling me Kendra the whole time. I wish we could have ran Kendra.
So 2002, I gotta look it up now. Through
may have been too early for Kendra.
The Girls Next Door.
So we just did the bunny house and missed it.
Holly's World.
Oh, it was Holly's World?
Holly's World.
Damn, we had that answer in the chat too.
No, that's not it either. It wasn't Holly's World. Holly's World was 2009. I thought it was Girls Next Door.
It could have been because there were two Girls Next Doors.
Oh,
I was 6 years old at the time it debuted, so I wasn't really plugged in.
Apparently, there's a podcast now with the two of the three on Girls Next Door talking about the behind the scenes life of everything that went on, and it's pretty fascinating of how they were portrayed and how inaccurate it was on the show, which is pretty interesting. So anyway. Damn, I can't believe we missed that. Well, that was an absolute failure.
Dang, yeah, that's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth for a week.
Yeah, well, do better next week. All right, that'll be it for us here on the show. Make sure you give the show a like, even though we failed at trivia. Like the show before you go. We'll try to be better tomorrow morning on a Thursday and also be better next Wednesday on trivia. So appreciate all you guys being a part of it. Hit that like button. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us and like the Facebook page too. More content will be coming out from OTAs yesterday throughout our social media. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Thursday. Buck Rising live tonight with A to Z Primetime. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten up pod out now.